Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to CompassCare's WalkOn Webcast. So excited that you are joining with thousands of pro-life Christians across Western New York and beyond. This is the culmination of the virtual Walk for Life. And there are thousands of you joining via this webcast, on Facebook Live, and on 4 radio stations where it's being broadcast. Just to orient you to some of the functionality of the webcast, for those of you who are watching through Zoom, if you're on a desktop, you'll have a chat button down at the very bottom of your screen. And when you click on that chat button, share where you're calling from, who you're calling with, what church you go to, and just make sure you choose all panelists and attendees when you click on that chat function. If you're on a phone with the webcast on Zoom, it's going to be on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. And just be aware, when you go to chat, when you're on your phone, it will cut out the audio and video for a short period of time, but you can just hit the back button and get back to the live event. My name is Daniel Tomlinson. I am the VP of Advancement at CompassCare, and it is my honor just to be with you this morning to share what God is doing through His church to erase the need for abortion. And that's CompassCare's mission, to erase the need for abortion by transforming a woman's fear into confidence. Because it's fear that's driving these life and death decisions. 95% of the women that come in to through CompassCare's doors are seriously considering abortion, meaning they would be getting abortions if they went somewhere else. And CompassCare is a pregnancy decision center. All of CompassCare's services and marketing are focused on reaching and serving that woman when she's making that life and death, in the moment of time, in that window of time where she's making her decision about the outcome of her pregnancy. Most women seriously considering abortion are making a decision about their pregnancy within 24 to 48 hours. So CompassCare pours all of its resources and thought and marketing and services into reaching her and serving her and supporting her in a way that she no longer fears having her own child. So the fear of the unknown, her relational fears, her circumstantial fears are erased and transformed into a confidence that she could have her own child. And we want to celebrate here together what God is doing to erase the need for abortion through you. Let's pray together and ask the Lord's blessing over our time. Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to gather virtually as pro-life Christians in the abortion capital of the U.S., to shine light into a dark place, to testify to the truth that all life is equally valuable, both the preborn child and the woman who says, I can't do this. Lord, thank you that you have given all of us a passion and a desire to leverage what you have given us on behalf of those who have no voice, those who have been dehumanized in our society. Thank you for this next hour that we have together. And Lord, just pray your blessing over this time. And in Jesus' precious name, we pray. Amen. Well, over the next hour, there's this jam-packed agenda, and just so grateful for your time and attention. You're going to be hearing about the vision for the future of a pro-life New York from Jim Harden, CompassCare's president and CEO. You'll have an opportunity to hear recent patient stories and patient testimonies. And we're going to have a live Q&A with Kathy Maurer, CompassCare's lead nurse. So even now in that chat feature, you can submit questions for Kathy even now, and we'll answer as many of those as we possibly can. And there'll be opportunities to invest, to go deeper, to deepen your commitment towards erasing the need for abortion. I want to take a quick moment and just thank the sponsors of this event. Thank you so much for the Walk for Life sponsors, for completely underwriting the cost of putting on the virtual Walk for Life and this WalkOn webcast. Because of your leadership and generosity, all of the money raised for this event can go directly towards mission services. And so thankful to all of you. Well, next we're going to hear from Jim Harden, CompassCare's president and CEO. But before we get to that, we're going to hear from you and why you're passionate. Take a look.
Walk for life, virtually.
Walk on.
Walk on for life? Why do I walk for life? Why is this so important to me?
I'm walking for a special reason.
Because we believe that every person is greatly loved and valued by God.
We're walking for life because we believe that everyone is created in the image of God.
We want to share why we walk.
It's because all lives matter.
Because every human being is made in the image of God.
We walk because life is the greatest gift given.
#WalkOn. And we're walking for life because we believe that every life is precious in the sight of the Lord from the time of conception.
We're walking for life.
We walk for life.
I'm walking for life because I believe that every human being deserves the right to live.
Hey, we're walking for life.
The main reason is just that we feel that every human life is infinitely valuable to God, and it should be to us.
Hi, my name is Jim Harden, and I have had the honor of serving the Lord as President and CEO of CompassCare going on 19 years now. I am proud to be part of the Church of Western New York. Together, we are forging a more pro-life, pro-family New York. Even now, we're doing that in two ways: by raising awareness about the truth that we're all made in the image of God and therefore equally valuable from the womb to the tomb. And secondly, by raising support for women seriously considering abortion, who think that abortion is their only way out. You know, the mission of CompassCare, as Daniel has just said, is to erase the need for abortion by transforming a woman's fear into confidence. It truly is the fear of the unknown that drives her. What's my boyfriend going to do? What are my parents going to say? What about childcare? What about medical care? Et cetera, et cetera. And it all hits her like a wave, and she's in fight or flight mode. You know, and the mission is even more critical now than ever before. Because of COVID-19, women are even more at risk for abortion, even more anxious about the finances and the health care revolving around her unplanned pregnancy, which is why it's so important that CompassCare remain open. In fact, the matter is, CompassCare has not shut down. Through this entire lockdown period, CompassCare has been serving patients. New York State has said abortion is an essential service. Well, if that's the case, then CompassCare is even more essential. Our life-saving services here together are even more essential now than ever before. And during this whole process, we've seen over 220 women who are seriously considering abortion. Here with me today, right now, is CompassCare's lead nurse, Kathy Maurer, to tell us more about what's happening in the clinical office. Kathy?
Thanks, Jim. Yes, we've been so busy in the last few weeks. I could tell you an abundance of stories. I could tell you about the terrified teen who came because her high school counselor brought her. I could tell you about the traumatized abortion-minded patient who actually walked into an abortion agency and was so terrified by the way they were ushering her into a procedure without any kind of information. She ran out and she cried. She called us and wanted to be seen, in which we were able to accommodate. I could tell you about the terrified or the real shy high school senior who came in, and she really thought for sure she'd have to have an abortion, but after thinking about it for a while, she did change her mind, praise God. But the story I want to tell you about today is a patient I'm going to call Tina. Now, Tina has more pressures than probably you or I understand. More outside stress. What with raising children, little children, by herself and barely able to make ends meet. She's also in a very volatile relationship with a boyfriend who's been incredibly unfaithful to her. Add to that the whole scare of the virus, being locked down, and then she finds out she's pregnant by this man. Well, you can understand why Tina might feel stuck, right? As so many of our patients feel. They're overwhelmed by the set of circumstances and they don't know any other option. Now, thankfully, Tina found CompassCare by going online and was able to make an appointment. We were able to see her within 24 hours. And our services are free, which made it even that much more beneficial for her. When she came in, she poured out her story to her CompassCare nurse, and you know what? She confided to her, and she said, you know, deep down, I don't really like the idea of abortion. I just don't see another option. And you should know that that's not an uncommon sentiment that we hear from patients who are seriously considering abortion. Deep down, there's something inside that's wired towards care and nurture, not destruction. She was tapping into that a little bit and being honest with her nurse, and the nurse said, that's not uncommon. But why don't we find out a little bit more about your pregnancy, and let's do a limited obstetric ultrasound to determine some more information for you. And then we can talk about options. So Tina went ahead and had that ultrasound. She looked up at the monitor and she gasped. She said, "Oh my gosh!" And the nurse says, "What?" And she said, "There's two. There's one healthy 7-week-old, but no, there's two." And she was shocked. And she said, "That changes everything." And the nurse says, "What does it change?" And she says, "Well, you don't know this, but I prayed to God and I said, if there are two, then I won't abort. I'll raise these babies as my own." And as if that wasn't a blessing and a miracle enough, her nurse took the opportunity to go ahead and share the good news of God's love and offered an invitation for her to come into right relationship with him. And Tina said yes. She bowed her head, she prayed in that exam room, and walked out hope-filled. Now, to be honest, Tina still struggles. She's got outside voices during the course of the week that have told her that's not a good idea. And they have they've caused her to second guess that. This is the real battle, and I invite you to pray for Tina. She's agreed to come back because she says, "I like you guys, and I like to process with you." Thank you for being a part of Tina's story. Thank you for praying.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I love hearing these stories of patients who are being served, getting an opportunity to hear what's going on in the exam room. If you're just joining, thank you so much for being here and being part of this. You know, Tina is a great example of what's going on every single week in CompassCare's office. Women coming in feeling like they have no other choice. They need to get an abortion. And the mountain of abortion can seem overwhelming. Just the sheer volume, either nationally or in our states or even in our communities, can seem overwhelming. But the erasing the need for abortion happens one woman, one baby at a time. And a woman or sometimes in Tina's case, 2 babies at a time. In 2019, CompassCare saw 334 babies saved from abortion. 334 moms who were planning on getting abortions changed their minds and went on to carry their babies to term. And 142 women, when presented with the good news, when presented with the gospel of Jesus Christ, prayed to receive Christ. They surrendered their lives to their Creator. This is amazing reality of what goes on in the exam room as the nurses interact with these women. And it's such a blessing to be a part of. Right now, CompassCare is at 94% of its goal of $357,000. 94% of the goal has already been raised just online. So thank you all so much. Why $357,000? Well, it costs CompassCare $570 to serve one woman seriously considering abortion. And it's CompassCare's goal this year to serve 626 women seriously considering abortion. So thank you all so much. Many of you have already given. So grateful for your partnership. It is an honor to be a part of this with you. And if you're interested in going deeper and furthering your commitment, here's your opportunity. So it costs CompassCare $570, as I said, to serve one woman. And whatever level you're able to give at, whether it's one time or long term, you can give now by texting @SaveALife to 52014. You can text @SaveALife to 52014 or go to CompassCareWalk.com. Because the church has been so generous to CompassCare, CompassCare had the opportunity to expand into Buffalo. And Jim is going to come back up here and share with you about the vision of why CompassCare expanded to Buffalo, as well as the broader vision for New York State. So, Jim?
Thank you, Daniel. Again, my name is Jim. If you're just joining us, I'm Jim Harden, President and CEO of CompassCare. New York is the abortion capital of the United States, with there are more abortions that take place here than per capita basis than anywhere else in the nation. And we have the most permissive abortion laws in the world next to North Korea and China. Yet despite this reality, abortion plummeted 50% in the last few years in Rochester. And at the heart of all that was CompassCare. And now the church in Buffalo wanted to see if God wouldn't repeat that same miracle right there in Buffalo. Buffalo is the largest abortion hub outside of New York City, and it's happening. And here to tell us more about the miracle of Buffalo is CompassCare's regional executive, Dr. Dean Condon. Dean?
Thank you, Jim. When I speak with pro-life Christians in New York State, many of them will say that they feel there's no way to make a difference when it comes to reducing the rate of abortion. But I'm here to tell you that God is making a way. And I like to call it the Buffalo Miracle, or perhaps more accurately, the Buffalo Miracles. The first miracle happened when God moved in the hearts and minds of 4 independent boards of directors of 4 pregnancy centers, 3 in Buffalo, 1 in Rochester. And God moved them in such a way that they unanimously decided to unite and have CompassCare adopt the 3 pregnancy centers in Buffalo, North Towns, Buffalo Pregnancy Care Services, and South Towns, and to be adopted by CompassCare and have CompassCare implement its model of service. It was an amazing move of God. The second miracle has to do with nurses. After 20 years of service, the average pregnancy center typically has 1 nurse on staff. Within a matter of a few months, the Church of Western New York raised up 6 nurses to serve in Buffalo, making the center in Buffalo a mega pregnancy center. The third miracle had to do when CompassCare wanted to lay down roots and purchase a building. And in that search came across a pro-life physician who was retiring and selling his medical office. Well, when that building was first built and that family owned it, it was dedicated to the Holy Spirit. And when they sought to sell that building, they desired that it would glorify God, and that was their prayer. And when they found out the mission of CompassCare to serve vulnerable women considering abortion and their preborn babies, they paid the down payment to our mortgage. I mean, like, when does that ever happen? God was moving. The fourth miracle has to do with dignity. One of CompassCare's core values is dignity, so that when a woman comes through the doors, her dignity is preserved and honored. Sometimes it's the first time she experiences unconditional love. That experience can be transforming. At the same time, CompassCare understood that it needed to provide a professional environment that would rival any medical service and medical office that she would walk into. Because at that point, her confidence in the services that she will receive begins to build. And so that required a renovation of the building. Encountering the first general contractor that CompassCare spoke with, the estimate was that it would take 3 months and $50,000 to $60,000. But the Church of Western New York rose up contractors and suppliers that allowed that to be done in 6 weeks for about $10,000. The fifth miracle has to do with the church itself. In response to Governor Cuomo signing into law the Reproductive Health Act in January of 2019, the church was stirred up. We saw this manifest in 2 major ways. One, with CompassCare's Walk for Life last year and the banquet in Buffalo and the Walk for Life in Rochester, the amazing outpouring of support of time, talent, and treasure was overwhelming. The second way we saw this manifest was in the birth of a whole new movement called New York Pastors for Life in Buffalo. And back in October of 2019, over 100 Christian leaders covering all denominations and different ethnic groups gathered together to link arms to support life. An unprecedented event, a movement we expect to see spread across New York State. The sixth miracle has to do with results. CompassCare is on track for seeing a 50% reduction in abortion in 5 years. In 2019, 84 women chose to carry their babies to term. 53 surrendered their lives to Christ. When the church impacts a woman's life in a way that she chooses to carry her baby to term, they make an impact for generations to come. And when the church touches a woman's life in such a way that she surrenders her life to Christ, they make an eternal impact. The seventh miracle is yet to come. It will happen when the need for abortion is erased across the land. And at that time, we can take our rest. But until then, we keep pressing in. Jim?
Thanks, Dean. That is an amazing miracle. It is always encouraging to me. The vision is a true vision. One day, in the not too distant future, abortion will be eliminated. CompassCare's effectiveness is God-given and must be leveraged to serve as many women and save as many lives as possible. On July 1st, 1970, New York State became the first state in the Union to legalize abortion, thereby opening the doors for what we call abortion tourism. Women came from all over the United States to get their abortions in New York. Then, in 1973, the Supreme Court ruled Roe versus Wade, making abortion legal throughout the entire United States. And right now, in the not-too-distant future, we're going to see likely the Roe versus Wade decision modified or overturned. But today, in New York, the pro-life community has about the capacity to serve 1% of all the women who live in New York who are seriously considering abortion, except in Rochester and now in Buffalo, where we have the capacity to serve 25% on any given day or week. That capacity needs to expand all across this state. CompassCare's vision is to take what God has done in Western New York to the rest of New York State, because if New York State comes down in terms of abortion rates, the rest of the country will follow. So today is the day CompassCare is officially unveiling the New York State Abortion Reduction Plan. Watch this. Because we are all made in the image of God, we are all equally valuable, without qualification. The first state in the Union to wholesale legalize abortion was New York. Abortion tourism began. It's likely that the Supreme Court will take up their several opportunities to modify or overturn Roe versus Wade, thereby creating another abortion tourism dynamic. And we have an opportunity. Women will be coming to New York from all over the country to get their abortions. But here's the problem. Right now, the church in New York does not have the infrastructure to serve just the women in New York who are seriously considering abortion, except in Rochester.
I was shocked, I was scared, I didn't know what to do.
Just from the very start of that time with her, we are working very hard to build rapport with her.
She helped a lot, definitely. She helped me clear my mind so I can think straight. She helped me realize how big of a blessing this is.
They mapped out kind of everything for me, which made a big difference, and it gave me options. It didn't make me feel like right, wrong, wrong. I got to a point where I decided that every child deserves an amazing life. For me, making a selfish choice when I could be unselfish and get my life together and be a parent, the kind of regret that I would have to live with for the rest of my life, I just couldn't do it.
More than anything else, she just needed someone to help her navigate those early weeks of feeling desperate, not only emotionally, but physically. And God was able to use us to do that for her.
If I hadn't found CompassCare, I think I probably wouldn't have kept the baby out of fear. I would have tried to hide everything.
A miracle happened in Rochester. Abortion plummeted 50% in 8 years. It fell further, faster in Monroe County, where Rochester is, New York, than any other county that we're aware of in the entire United States of America. And now we started to do it in Buffalo.
Buffalo
is the second largest abortion hub in New York State. And so it became the natural place for CompassCare to expand its mission. We've seen 3 pregnancy centers decide that they wanted to be adopted by CompassCare in order to further their mission more effectively. That's an amazing act of humility and unity. Since April, we've seen literally 100% increase in the number of women served who are abortion-minded, choosing life for their babies.
This is a God-sized problem, abortion, and it requires a God-sized solution, the church. The church has stumbled across one in need on this dangerous Jericho road of culture. And we call her a woman facing an unplanned pregnancy. It's exciting to see the church invest to such an extent that they can actually make a difference in the abortion market. And if we can demonstrate this in Buffalo and replicate it all the way down, whether it's in Syracuse or Albany or New York City, and cut the abortion rates in half. Keep your abortion laws, it doesn't matter. If women are simply choosing to have their babies because they feel supported and secure. This is what faith is all about. To fight the cultural battles, to stand up for justice and righteousness for the kingdom of God. To ensure that those that are being dehumanized and victimized are protected and blessed. The church is erasing the need for abortion one woman at a time through CompassCare. Abortion is a God-sized problem, and the church is the only entity equipped to handle the greatest injustice the world has ever seen.
This truly is a God-sized problem, and the church is God's solution to it. You know, as Christians in Western New York and beyond, living in the abortion capital of the U.S., God is giving us an opportunity to change the world, one life at a time, one woman at a time. So again, as Jim said in the video, you can keep your abortion laws. It won't matter if women who are facing unplanned pregnancy are simply choosing to carry to term instead of abort. So thank you so much. Right now, CompassCare is at 95% of its goal online. 95% of its goal of $357,000. Over $340,000 has been raised to provide life-saving services to women seriously considering abortion in Western New York. So thank you so much for all of you who have given and invested and just been so generous in an outpouring of love to women and their preborn children. It costs CompassCare $570 to serve one woman seriously considering abortion. So if you're interested in going deeper, if you're interested in investing further in the mission to erase the need for abortion, one woman, one child at a time, whatever level you're able to give at, whether it's one time or long term, here's an opportunity again to give now. You can give by texting @SaveALife to 52014. That's @SaveALife to 52014. Or go to CompassCareWalk.com right now. Next, we're going to move into a live Q&A with Kathy Maurer. CompassCare's a lead nurse. So go ahead and submit your questions via the chat feature. Go ahead and submit your questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. But before we get to that live Q&A, watch this patient story.
I wasn't the person that was going to get pregnant. I was always so responsible, and I had was very career driven and had a very set path that I wanted to be down. I didn't see a child in that, and I didn't think that was going to fit in.
I had called my doctor's office when I first had taken an at-home pregnancy test. Said positive, and I'm like, oh no, okay.
Scared, nervous, surprised, anxious to see what was going on, I guess.
It's okay. She told me there's plenty of options and that we'll go through all of that with you.
We might have aborted, but once I saw that he was an individual in there,
I realized it's not just about me, it's about this child too.
Once I went in there and she showed me the different options, and I said to myself, you don't have to just, try to erase something, because this isn't a mistake. This is a child, and this is a baby, and this is a blessing no matter who takes care of this child.
him on the ultrasound, it made all the difference for me. I saw a little person in there, feet and arms and legs. And
my biggest change of heart didn't really happen in a moment.
This is the right step to go, but I have to be ready to let go of, or put my life where it's at right now on hold, because it's time to make somebody else's life, amazing. And, every child deserves that.
It's kind of hard. You have to be really selfless. You have to kind of learn that it's not somebody else that really matters now, and you kind of have to tailor everything to them.
To bring that other life into the world, it's amazing.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Daniel.
Here we are at the live Q&A. We've had some really good questions coming in, and we're going to get to as many of them as we possibly can. So thank you, and feel free to continue submitting questions even now, and we'll get to as many of them as we can here. First question is actually from Mike from Wheatland Community Church in Scottsville, and he is wondering, how do patients learn about CompassCare services? So, Kathy, how do patients hear about CompassCare? And he has kind of a two-part question. It is, why do women who want abortions come to CompassCare if CompassCare doesn't do abortion? So, how do patients hear about CompassCare, and why do they come in?
Sure, great questions, Mike. I'll take the first one in terms of how they hear about us. CompassCare has an excellent marketing team, able to get and reach the right population, which are those women who are facing an unplanned pregnancy and seriously considering abortion. We do that through television ads, radio ads. Probably most effectively, though, is the internet, and so most women find us through a Google search. Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to that, they may also find us by word of mouth, since the vast majority of former patients are so pleased with their service, they're very willing to direct their friends and family to us. One other option, one of the other ways that patients find us, is just through agency or physician referrals, things like that. Recently, I was saying earlier about this high school student whose high school counselor brought her. The high school counselor's the one who referred her to us, called us, made the appointment, actually brought her to us for that appointment. So that's one way. And then the second question?
Well, yeah, so just to summarize, majority is through online.
That's
finding CompassCare online. So
that's
when you're Googling about or looking for information on abortion, you're going to find CompassCare.
Right, and women can, in fact, make an appointment, schedule an appointment right online, or they can call and make an appointment.
Yeah, awesome. And so the second part of that question is, why do they come in if CompassCare doesn't do abortion, doesn't do abortions, doesn't provide abortions, or refer for them? Why do women who are considering abortion come to CompassCare?
Sure, such a great question. I'm going to answer that with just a real brief story too about a woman that some who have PrayerNet, who are praying for women, might know her as Nora. So Nora was seriously considering abortion, called us first, and was understood what we offered, but she wanted it fast, and she was hurried. And so she went to an abortion agency that was driving her towards abortion, and that terrified her. She actually left that appointment and called us because of the information and the compelling compassion she heard from our scheduler. So our schedulers have been excellent in their ability to articulate the important information that any patient needs. Basically, the three basic questions to be answered: is she really pregnant with a viable pregnancy? How far along is she? And does she have an STD that needs to be treated? And all those things can be answered.
So those three questions you're saying are questions that she needs to have answered before she makes a decision.
Exactly.
And what are those three again? Is she really pregnant?
Is she really pregnant? 1 out of 5 pregnancies are not viable, and the only way to know that is through a limited obstetric ultrasound. We have no business talking about even the abortion option without knowing how far along she is. That can also be determined
Sure.
by that limited obstetric ultrasound, and then STDs. Women are at risk if they proceed with an abortion and have an untreated STD.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what CompassCare is helping educate her on.
Exactly.
In terms of here's what you need, here's the
Yes.
information that you need
Yes.
Before you make any decision.
Yes, so when Nora ran out in tears out of the abortion agency, she said, "This is not the place for me. I need to go back to CompassCare. I need to call that woman again and make an appointment because that's what I need."
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have another question here from Annie from Cheektowaga. She's asking, why are most patients saying they want an abortion? So give us an example and then maybe just expand on it in terms of why do women want abortions?
Sure. So we just had a patient call us this past weekend. She had actually, she went to a local agency, a local abortion agency, in pursuit of an abortion and was given the abortion pill. She called us a couple days later. She was distraught, and she actually went to her brother, and her brother said, "You should call CompassCare." And she did, and she said, I made a mistake. I don't want to do this. And in the course of conversation, we discovered that the reason she felt she needed to do it had to do with the pressure that she felt from her boyfriend in particular, who said, "You need to do this. You just need to do this. Get it done. You just need to do this." That was so much pressure. She succumbed to that. So often women feel both internal and external pressure. Sometimes the pressure is simply society's pressure. You have to get a degree. You have to get a career. You can only have 2 children. Things like that. And some of it's internal pressure where they're ashamed of their situation. And so it's driving them to preserve their face, so to speak, and kind of not feel the judgment of whomever. Sometimes that's even very close family members who she's confident that she would disappoint them if they knew.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it almost sounds like what you're saying is that they don't actually want an abortion, but they're feeling either coerced
That's right.
or feeling like they need to get one in order to placate a relationship. Or maybe there's just the pressures of circumstances,
Sure.
finances, career plans, all that kind of
Right,
stuff.
right. The ideal of what success looks like is a pressure in and of itself.
Yeah.
To have a disruption, so to speak, of a pregnancy,
Yeah.
it's hard for her to navigate that. But the vast majority of patients will tell us they do not like the idea of an
Yeah.
abortion. It's undesirable.
Yeah.
There's something in them. They just don't see another way out.
Okay. So Bill from Lakeland, Florida, actually
Hi,
asked a
Bill.
question. He asked if you would just walk through what happens when a woman comes into CompassCare. So if you could just describe what a woman experiences when she comes to CompassCare and maybe give us an example or two.
Absolutely. I'd love to be able to. I'll share Leanne, also a recent PrayerNet patient, just a young high school senior. She's in lockdown, so isn't able to finish out her year. And then she finds out she's pregnant, and she's terrified. She's one of these young ladies who would be afraid to tell her mom, and so didn't. She found us, she came in, and the very first thing that we want to do as nurses is to engage empathetically, compassionately, and without judgment. We want to build a bridge of relationship and trust because we have to have some serious conversation, some intense conversation where our goal, our mission is to help draw out her tension, what she feels inside, to bring it out through the course of that appointment. But we do take her through a health assessment, some clinical evaluation, all under the authority of our medical directors, very capable, qualified clinicians, professional nurses who are able to go ahead and draw out that information, do the health interview, as well as testing and ultimately the limited obstetric ultrasound. So this young lady who came in, the senior, I was her nurse in this particular case, and Leanne, I said, "Would you like to have an ultrasound?" She said yes. She saw the baby, and you know what? Her response was simply, "I don't know what to think." And that's common as well. Just, I don't know what to do with this information. And so we often communicate, you have time.
Sure.
As we continue on with that, I ask a little bit more about how she's feeling, what are the driving tensions inside her. And we talk about the options, starting with abortion, starting with
Right.
what those are, what's the risks and side effects, things like that. But we go on and
So
we
you're
talk
giving
about,
her all the information about what abortion is going
That's
to
exactly
do
right.
to her,
Mhm.
and the kind of just the ramifications of that
That's
decision.
right.
Sure. Okay.
So the nurses are expert in each of the arenas of the options. So they're experts in understanding and conveying abortion information.
Yeah. So she's got 3 options basically.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I interrupted. Keep going.
No, that's fine. She actually has 2 options. She has continue or don't.
Yes.
But then under continue, she has 2 options,
Right,
which is
right.
adoption or parenting.
Right.
And so we do talk about adoption. I did with Leanne, and Leanne says, as so many patients do, they say, I can't be pregnant for 9 months and then give up my baby. That's a very, very common sentiment, a very common thing that they say. However, in Leanne's case, she nodded her head politely and probably gave me a little bit of interest that probably wasn't real.
Sure.
I did go on to say, maybe you would be interested in parenting. And Leanne, I just want you to understand that in the community where you live, there is an abundance of agencies and organizations they're excellent at giving you the service you need, whether it's job training, job placement, child care, insurance, counseling, therapy, rehab.
And
so
CompassCare
many.
connects her with all those resources.
That's exactly
right.
right.
Yeah.
We're expert in what we do, and we know where to send her and connect her for the things that would be most beneficial to each specific patient.
Yeah.
Eventually, we try to connect her with a church in her area
Yeah.
that would be like-minded and life-minded to help support come alongside her.
Sure.
And that really just bridges the gap for us to go ahead and offer the opportunity of coming into right relationship with God, her maker, through faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
Which is what we do as well.
Yeah. So what was the end of that story? Did she come back?
Leanne,
Yeah.
thank you so much for asking that. I'm just thrilled by all of these wonderful stories. But Leanne did surrender her life to the Lord in that moment.
Awesome.
She did. And then she hadn't made a decision about her pregnancy. That appointment, I scheduled a return, saw her the following week, had similar response in terms of I'm not sure. The third time, and we'll schedule her again if she's still undecided. If there's still a chance, we're gonna talk again. And she came in the third time, and I could tell something was different. She was smiling when we did the ultrasound. 8-week-old healthy baby.
Yeah.
And no, actually, this baby was 12 weeks. That's
Okay.
right, because I could tell, I could tell it was a baby boy.
Yeah.
And I finished the ultrasound, and I was tentative, and I said, how do you feel? You seem a little changed in terms of how you feel about this. And she goes, yes, I'm going to continue. Do you happen to know if it's a boy? Because I had a dream it was a boy.
Oh, wow.
And then she
Wow.
went on, just to add to this, she went on to say, what changed for me is that I told my mom, and she hadn't told her mom before.
Okay.
And when she told her mom said, I'm not disappointed, I'll support you.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
yes.
And this happened last week? This week?
This happened 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
It was
ago.
2 weeks
Okay.
ago, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we're running out of time here, but
I know.
I do want to get to one last question. And thank you all so much for all of your questions. And wish we could get to all of them. But just one last question, because you've mentioned this several times about sharing the gospel. And Heather from Hamburg is asking, how do you get so many patients to respond to the gospel? So I just want to broaden that just a little bit in terms of, why does CompassCare share the gospel with patients, and how does that help a woman seriously considering abortion?
Sure. Great question.
And how do they respond?
They respond as any reasonable person would, right?
Yeah, right.
So I just love the gospel. It is what I stand on, but more than that, it is what is the foundation of CompassCare. It is who we are. We are the ministry of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Sure.
I think it's important for people to know that it's legal still to share your faith in the state of New York and in the United States of America. More than that, Christ compels us by his word and by his spirit to be a light in dark places. And so we are enormously grateful that we have the opportunity day in and day out with these patients to share the best and really only hope in their situation. So how we do that is really each of our nurses has a genuine relationship with God through faith in Jesus. It's alive and it's active and it bubbles up like a fountain.
Sure.
We talk about how we're separated by sin and selfishness, how God loved us so much that he wasn't going to let us just do our good deeds and think we're going to get into his good graces, but he sent his own son to show us what it looked like that he loved us so much.
Right.
And that perhaps, and with a recent patient I had, I'll call her Susan, I said, Susan, perhaps you're here for such a time as this. Perhaps you're here to hear this right now, that God is actually inviting you into that. And before I could say what we typically say, which is, are you willing to surrender control of your life to Jesus Christ right now? I couldn't even get that out in this case. There's just so much life. The Holy Spirit's so present. She just reached out and she said, that's exactly what I need.
Yeah.
And so she
And
grabbed my
praise God.
hands and prayed right away and kind of caught me off guard. But that is the life of the gospel.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you all for your questions. So if we didn't get to your question, there are CompassCare panelists there to answer as many of them as we possibly can. But also, when we have the opportunity, we'd love to have you come in for a vision tour, which happen typically twice a month in both the Buffalo and Rochester office, and you'll have all of your questions plus much more answered during that time. And just so grateful for this opportunity just to peek into the exam room, get to hear what the nurses are doing on the front lines to serve these women. Next, we're going to just love hearing why you are so passionate, why the nurses are so compassionate and passionate about. It's just an awesome opportunity to hear that. You know, in the chat right now, would love for you to share why you are passionate about serving women, about saving lives, and just to encourage each other and to share why are you passionate about erasing the need for abortion. Next, we're going to hear from Jim, and he's going to share why he's passionate. But first, before we get to that, here's you saying why you are.
We have seen the tears that flow from the eyes of a woman who has just had an abortion.
It is our hope that they would choose life for that baby.
Fully and equally human.
You will probably never have an opportunity to directly impact the saving of an individual life like you will in supporting CompassCare.
Every mother should have a chance to make a fully informed decision, and every life should be treated with dignity.
I walk because women deserve better.
What could be more inhumane than killing a baby in its mother's womb?
We are very passionate about CompassCare's ministry.
Life is a life, no matter how small.
Save babies.
That's right. We are trying to save babies because we believe that everybody is made in the image of God and is therefore fully and equally human.
Lives be saved. They always are. Hi. I'm Jim Harden. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm the president and CEO of CompassCare, and I am passionately pro-life like you. I am passionately pro-life, but perhaps not for the reasons you might think. Not because of my personal experience, nor the bad politics, not because of the high abortion statistics, nor even the violation of medical ethics, not because of a moral philosophy, nor even the science of embryology, which says that life begins at conception. The reason why I am passionately pro-life and why all the reasons I just listed actually matter is because we are all made in the image of God and are therefore equally valuable from the womb to the tomb without qualification, period. You know, what many of you might say, I agree, Jim. I believe in the dignity of all human beings. I agree with you. I believe all human beings are equally valuable. But do preborn babies really qualify? I mean, didn't the Supreme Court, those 9 lawyers with the robes on, didn't they already settle this and say that the word person does not apply to the unborn? Well, allow me to answer that question
with a story of Jesus talking to a lawyer about something very similar. A lawyer comes to Jesus and he's testing Jesus. And he says, Jesus, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? I mean, what's the formula? What's the greatest commandment? What do I have to do? And Jesus says, well, you're the lawyer. I'm paraphrasing here. You're the lawyer. You tell me, how does it read to you? And so the lawyer says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, that's right. Do that, and you'll be fine. And the lawyer says, wishing to justify himself, wishing to justify his thoughts, his attitudes, whatever they might be, says, yeah, but who's my neighbor? As soon as we begin to ask that question, as soon as we begin to parse out who my neighbor is and who my neighbor isn't, we begin to plant the seeds of injustice, which reaps a harvest of violence. So Jesus answers the lawyer's question about who his neighbor is. Who is he responsible to actually love? With a story. And it's the story of the Good Samaritan. Jesus says, there's this man going from Jerusalem to Jericho down the dangerous Jericho road, and he's set upon by robbers. And the robbers beat him up and leave him for dead. And along comes this priest. And he sees the man lying on the side of the road, and apparently he has other priorities. For whatever reason, he passes by on the other side and leaves the man there. Another man comes along. He's a Levite. He also sees the man, and apparently he has different priorities, and he doesn't see this man who's lying half dead on the side of the road as a priority, so he walks by on the other side. Then along comes a Samaritan, a man who would have been dehumanized in the mind of this lawyer. This Samaritan, this half-breed, this even enemy of the man lying on the side of the road. And he stops, and he leverages his power and his influence and his resources. He stops and he bandages up his wounds, and he puts him on his donkey, and he takes him to an inn, and he tells the innkeeper, whatever additional expenses that you incur, let me know, put it on my tab, I'll pay for it. And then Jesus turns back to the lawyer and says, who was a neighbor to the man? And the lawyer can't even bring himself to say Samaritan. He says, well, it was the man who helped the other man. And Jesus says, go and do likewise. Go and do likewise. Why is it that Christians are always in the front lines of social injustice? Why is it that Christians are always looking out for the plight of the weak and the vulnerable? And I think it's because we all implicitly understand that we have all been beaten and left for dead by sin on the side of this dangerous road of society. And Jesus Christ stooped down, and while we were enemies of Jesus in our sin, he stooped down and he enfleshed himself, and he gave us his power and his resources. He gave us our lives back. Not so that we can spend our newfound freedom and our newfound standing before God the Father on ourselves, but so that we can go and do likewise and spend it on behalf of those that need it most, the weak and the vulnerable of society. Jesus is our Good Samaritan, and he says, go and do likewise. Everyone, everywhere ought to be pro-life. Everyone, everywhere ought to be pro-life. This is the lesson of the Good Samaritan. You see, the moral of the story is that the opposite of loving my neighbor is not hate. I don't think that the priest and the Levite had animus in their heart toward their fellow Jew that they walked past on the other side of the road. The opposite of loving my neighbor is not hating my neighbor. The opposite of loving my neighbor is partiality. The opposite of loving my neighbor is playing favorites. We don't get to decide who our neighbor is. We don't get to decide who qualifies as a person and who does not, like the Supreme Court did. When the man says, yeah, but who's my neighbor? It's an eerily similar question to ask. Yeah, but who's a person? Which is exactly what the Supreme Court did in 1973. This lawyer was wrong, who was talking to Jesus, and the 9 lawyers in the Supreme Court were wrong in 1973. Jesus freed us from the cultural constraints and the formulas, making us radically responsible for whoever comes across our path. We are radically responsible for the weak and the vulnerable. We don't have a choice to decide who qualifies for our favor and who does not. You see, abortion is not just another social issue. Let me say that again. Abortion is not just another social issue. Abortion is a symptom of society's fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be human under God. I am passionately pro-life because everyone is created in the image of God and therefore equally valuable from the womb to the tomb, without qualification. We are made in the image of God. That is the basis for all human dignity. Without that fact, without that truth, human dignity is a pipe dream. Equality is just a word we use to manipulate the masses. No, we are made in the image of God, each and every one of us, from the moment of conception. And our neighbor in greatest need right now is a woman who feels that abortion is her only way out. And a preborn boy or girl who is dehumanized in law.
I was about a couple of weeks, I can say 6 to 7 weeks, when I called CompassCare. I heard about CompassCare through a commercial ad. I was going through a tough time. I just lost my job. I felt family pressure. My family was thinking, no, I shouldn't have had another baby. So everybody was against me, and I was only standing for myself. In the commercial, when I heard it, they was like, we are here to support you in whatever decision that you want to make. So it wasn't just like a Planned Parenthood, come here, you get a. When I hear Planned Parenthood, I just think of abortion. CompassCare kind of felt like, okay, care, CompassCare, maybe, they can have other options for me. So I reached out to them and I called them. At first I was going to get abortion, but I ended up keeping my baby. When I went through my sonogram, I seen my baby and stuff, everything just changed right then and there, drastically, like, I can't do it, So I have had abortion before, once in my life, and I will never do it again, ever. That pain never go away. It doesn't go away. It does not go away, ever. So my heart is still broken from that. So something I wish I never did. And I do ask God to forgive me all the time. That's something I think about every day. That having abortion goes through your mind every day. I mean, every day. Like you wake up every morning, that's how the abortion play back in your mind every day. Because you got all your other kids, and where's your kids that you got rid of? Where are they? They not here. I was surprised at how much support I did get at CompassCare. For me to come to CompassCare was a big change. It opened up my eyes to a lot of different things. Julie came in and she was like an angel from heaven. Oh my God. She really was. She just spoke to me like she knew, like she was speaking to my heart. I just do the best I can for Deasia. I was glad that I did come here. They were great and I appreciate it, and it was a blessing to me.
Well, thank you all so much for your time this morning. Right now, the status of the goal is 104%. 104% of the goal has been achieved of $357,000. We're at $374,000 and a little bit over $374,000 raised to serve women seriously considering abortion in Western New York. Thank you so much. This is God's ministry. This is God's work, and He is providing for it through you, through His people. And just so grateful for your investment, financial investment, and for the gift of your time this morning. I also want to thank Northridge for hosting this webcast today, and all of the staff and people who made it possible for you to be viewing this and to share what's going on, what God is doing through His people to erase the need for abortion. If what you have seen and heard this morning has inspired you, if your passion for preborn babies and women has been stoked, there are 3 things that you can do. If you haven't already and would like to give, you can do so now. It costs $570 to serve one woman. And whatever level you're able to give at, whether it's one time or overtime, you can do that right now by texting @SaveALife to 52014. That's text @SaveALife to 52014, or you can go to CompassCareWalk.com. If you go to CompassCareWalk.com, there's two other ways I want to encourage you to get involved if you are not already. One of those ways is to pray. If you would like to pray for women seriously considering abortion who leave CompassCare still planning on getting their abortion, you can join the CompassCare prayer net by going to CompassCareWalk.com and pressing the pray button. And you can join with thousands of Christians praying for these women as they're making those life and death decisions. And the other way is to serve. If you would like to volunteer, to give of your time and talent on behalf of the mission, there are many different volunteer opportunities for you. And again, you can go to CompassCareWalk.com to do that. And however you choose, I just want to say again, thank you so much for the gift of your time this morning. And I just want to turn it over to Jim to close us out. Jim?
Thanks, Daniel. And thank you, everyone. You have joined thousands of your fellow pro-lifers in raising awareness about the equal value of human life while raising funds to help women seriously considering abortion to have their babies. Together, we are erasing the need for abortion, one woman, one life at a time. Thank you again, and God bless.